All right, Awesemo fans, here we are. It is Eric and Eric in the evening. Apparently, that's one of the show titles we're trying out here. That was a Josh Engelman special. I think he and Greg Ehrenberg came up with that on the Live Before Lock show. We were looking at the live sweat and swap show was a potential name here. Late strategy show. I like the late night hammer. Eric, what are we going with? We leaning into anything besides tequila tonight?
I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm pretty sure I just had to steal it from Tyler. It was too good. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't know what I want to say to that because there's some edgy ways to go with it. There's some not edgy ways to go with it. Late Night Hammer feels like a it could kind of straddle both ends of the line a little bit, but I think we're the late slate sweat and swap at this point in time, Eric McPherson. So enjoy that one, old pal EMac. We're gonna have to go back to our 70s roots for you, and with the mustache. Did you ever have a mustache?
Only when I was getting rid of goatees.
Okay. So the little bit of the porn stash, we can bring it back for you here.
My
just
brother
for the late slate
would all the time in Movember, and then he'd rock his cop shades, and he drove this big old truck, so he looked like an off-duty cop or fireman because he had the reflective aviator glasses.
You and your brother look pretty similar.
Not really at all. He has blonde hair and blue eyes.
I'm just trying to imagine
sound alike
it.
And laugh alike, but we don't.
Yeah, I just want a vivid image for the next 59 minutes is what I want.
Yeah, he would have fit into Broken Lizard.
Nice.
The Super Troopers group.
Oh, nice. Yeah. There you go.
All right. Well, we've got a bunch going on. We're just waiting for people to gather. We did get most of our news, so that is going to be quite helpful for tonight. So first off, of course, we always like it when you guys hit the like button and the subscribe button. We're closing in on 51,000. Thank you. It took us a moment to get there to 50,000, but we're cruising right past that. We appreciate that. Could not do this without you guys. And as you've seen, we've added more and more shows. This last week, we have now added another 3 hours per day during the weekdays. So you've got the 6:30 in the morning show, the Slate. I don't know what Josh is calling his show. The this is how this
process.
is the process. This is the underneath the hood, which it's so cool just to watch. And even if it as we saw tonight, everything goes sideways in the NBA. It's neat to see how he handles different things, how he approaches stuff, how he sets rotations based upon recent games and potential matchups and all that fun stuff. So that is all the stuff that's going into the Alex Baker Awesemo projections and more. But I know you do your own projections. Josh does. Pretty much everybody but me does. Spags does them. So it all gets
I will admit, I will be fully I will just admit to it. Today I did not on a 5-game slate with a bunch of news waiting in the wings. I felt like it was pointless at that point in time. So I just went right off Fantasy Cruncher. It felt nice. It was nice to take a day off from the streets of plugging all the inputs in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the way I do it. It's like, you know what? I'm playing all the sports. Today I did NHL. I did NASCAR because we have the duels. I did tennis. I did college basketball. Oh, it reminds me I need to set my late slate hockey lineups and, of course, NBA. So I've been doing a lot of that. But I utilize all of our projections and all of our tools because there's no earthly way I could make up for doing all of this on my own. There's just not enough hours in the day because I got a day job and I produce content. So
good thing there's this amazing website called Awesemo.com that can help you with all of these things.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the best thing, there's a variety of ways to get in. One way I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to drop this link into the YouTube chat. This is for the pin tweet on Awesemo_COM. If you check that out right now, we're doing an NBA giveaway, giving away a full free year of Awesemo NBA. That's a full calendar year, not just through the rest of this year, but it loops all the way back around through the beginning of next year as well. All you got to do is just follow the instructions on the graphic, predict if it's going to be Dame Lillard or Steph Curry who score the most points tonight. Amongst those people who get that answer correct, one random winner will be selected, and you will be getting your one free year of Awesemo NBA. Definitely check that out. It's a great deal for that. Someone's asking me, what is my day job? They're curious. Well, real quick, I'm what's called a compensation is the field I work in. It's in HR. So generally I need to work at a company that has about 2,000 employees and a national headquarters. And then I'm the guy that figures out, bonuses, pay, offer letters, run stock plans, bonus plans, commission plans, determine salary structures. I oversee the annual merit cycle, the annual review cycle. And the company I work with now has almost 25,000 people. So there are 6 of us in the team. Most of the time, it's usually only 1 or 2 of us, but quick story there. So numbers, analysis, out to wazoo. Nobody knows the right answer. You may not find out if what you recommended and implemented worked for 2 or 3 years because you're trying to incent particular behavior from your employees. But I've been doing it a while, so it's pretty good. Plus, pays way better than when I started out in accounting and finance. The HR people are like, "Oh, you know data?" I'm like, yes, I do. Don't ask me about employee relations, but I can handle everything else. So there we are. A lot of fun. All right. With that, let's cut to the chase here. So we got the majority of the news that we were looking for. So we're not waiting on a lot, which is why we're going to have a little bit of fun tonight. We'll ask some questions. We'll talk a little bit about late swap, but we don't have to do a whole lot of prep into what if and how is this going to happen. So we have 2 games on our 10 o'clock slate. Everything else is locked. Nothing we can do about it. We got 54 minutes until everything tips off. We have Orlando at Golden State. Orlando, we got all the injury news we needed. We even have their starting lineup. So the people that are out for Orlando, and you'll want to remember playing sub slates, full slates, tiers, contests, show, whatever you've done, you can still go get these guys out. I missed a couple in late swap optimizer for some reason. So I was fortunate to go in and get them. But the people that are out, Evan Fournier, Michael Carter-Williams, Aaron Gordon, Al Farouk Amino, Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, I'm missing somebody, Cole Anthony. So an
MCW.
Easier way to say who is starting. That would be Frank Mason III. That would be Dwayne Bacon. That would be James Ennis, Gary Clark, and Nikola Vucevic. James Ennis and Gary Clark are basically the same person, right?
Yep.
From a fantasy perspective.
Or I honestly, if we were walking down the street, I mean, we do this every single day, no shot, like 0 shot. Look at their FanDuel profiles, no chance.
Yeah. So anyway, those are the starting guys there. Coming off the bench, the only other available players at this point, Terrence Ross, Chuma Okike, who I don't
Chuma Okike. Yeah, you got it. You got it. The Auburn guy.
I thought he might get the start, but he's not in this particular matchup, basically because there aren't that many bigs left for Golden State. Kem Birch and then Mo Bamba. From the Golden State side, we know that James Wiseman and Kevon Looney are out. Everybody else is in, but they're running out of bigs. They got no chance of guarding Vucevic tonight. Portland is going to be, they're going to have Nasir Little. Let me scroll.
Yep, he's in.
He is in on an undetermined minutes limit. So, yay.
Fun times.
Yusuf Nurkic,
especially coming off of the last game where he went completely ballistic and what can you say? I shorted Carmelo Anthony in the prop market. If you still have the opportunity to do such things, I would do it now. That was kind of the main thing. Nasir Little, I don't know, what can you expect here? Not much coming back from a knee injury, but completely went nuts the last time out. They played some. He had the garbage run in that Chicago game as well. So I'm very, very bullish on shorting Carmelo Anthony. Just letting that be known. I believe Awesemo is too. If you go to the prop tools here on NBA, I'm clicking on that now. Yep, it's one of the top 5 props that he's got listed for the day too.
Oh, nice. Drop that one into
let me grab
chat
that
if you have that up for everybody. Moving on to to Philadelphia, we have Mike Scott out, and then let me change this. Shake Milton is also out. He's dealing with an ankle injury. So that is, it's kind of hard to tell what that's going to open up. A variety of things. We have Markelle Fultz from where? University of Washington, who's wearing the shirt today.
Yeah, I was going to say. Okay. Well, it's so weird to remember Markelle Fultz because at Washington he shot threes very well, if I do recall. So it's a completely different basketball player.
So we've got him and Terrence Ross. They're not in this game, but I got to shout out the Washington guys. But you got Matisse Thybulle, who is also from the University of Washington. He is on Philadelphia. So is it going to be
Nate Robinson,
Thybulle?
Best basketball player from Washington? Nate Robinson, right?
Spencer Hawes.
Oh, okay. He's
Tony
Nate
Roten?
Robinson, way better. Okay. Man, deep cuts. I feel like I say deep cuts every single time, but somebody brings up something that just makes no sense on every show I'm on. And I'm like, wow, that one came out of nowhere. Like Kayla on the tip-off show bringing up Laura Ingalls Wilder because it sounded like Joe Ingles. I was like, I like her. We can be friends. Also, nobody else got that. So
Terry threw that question at me on the late Slate show because I didn't watch that show, and he said he set it up and he's tell me somebody from the Jazz that has something to do with the 80s. So I said, Gobert, Mitchell, Ingles. Oh, Little House on the Prairie.
We're doing bar trivia here.
It was a book. Yeah, I've read all the books. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Little House on the Prairie, Little House in the Big Woods, These Happy Golden Years, The House by Silver Lake, Farmer Boy, the first 4 years. Yeah, I've read them all. Come on.
Nasir Little on a minutes restriction. Gong. Thank you, El Negro Loco. You are the man.
But back to the Philly guys, just quickly. Who is it going to be? Fultz? I keep saying Fultz. Matisse Thybulle, Furkan Korkmaz, Seth Revenge Curry. What do we like? I mean, you talk deep cuts. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just like pull names out of a hat, obviously Seth Curry's the guy who's going to profile the best. Looking over at FanDuel, it's going to be, I always think that sometimes these slates just turn into glorified pick'ems at a certain point on DraftKings, where you can kind of like jam in the best plays, take some shots on different value and kind of go from there on these two gamers. Over on FanDuel, there's not enough salary because they have the exact same salaries that they have on the main slate. You basically are saying, I'm going to leave $1,500 or $1,000 on the table in order to have a single lineup with a single shot at the top, because there is if you go through some of the lineups after the fact, there is so much duplication that exists on FanDuel compared to DraftKings in these two gamers. Like, it's outrageous, actually. So if you build like the optimal going through everything, like Seth Curry, 4,100 on FanDuel, that's going to make a lot of sense. Ben Simmons, 8,800. It seems like a spend up that you probably wouldn't get on the main slate. So feels like a guy at 8,800 that I want to get a lot of on the two gamer, especially because this is kind of a little bit of a hedge situation coming into a late slate with only 5 games on a main slate. This two gamer, you can definitely do some unique things. Victor Oladipo has returned to the game. Thank you, Jesus. That would have been unfun for me on FanDuel.
All right, we have a super chat from Mr. Pibb. Maybe you might be able to see this in there. I've got to pronounce the name. It's
nice.
Fare Tema Ponce, I think. Is that how it's pronounced? You want to give that a try there?
Fartenme Ponce. I'm really, that one's going way over my head. I know it's a joke, but
say it without the accent.
Okay. Going back to it again. Fartenme Pants. Oh, wow. Fart in my pants. It's nice. These kids these days. Honestly, I feel like I'm honestly at this point in time I'm getting froshed every which direction. This is just
honestly, chat, that one was for you.
why am I here? What is my purpose in life anymore? Like, I can't. I completely missed this. Maybe I was doing things when this bit showed up in other places, but I mean, I just got murdered. It's fine. Thanks. Thank you. 613. I bid you adieu.
All right. Well, fortunately, we just have 2 games going on tonight. We have quite a few guys at the top. A couple more guys I want to mention at the lower end. You said you were a little bit against Carmelo Anthony. Do you feel a little Derek Jones Jr.? Would you consider Robert Covington, et cetera? And this is somehow this Trailblazers team won on the road without Lillard. Of course, Simmons didn't play on the other side, but they came in and just curb stomped Philly. Don't know how that one happened. What do you like amongst the wings? And then we'll start off at the top with the Vucevic's, Curry's, Lillard's, etc. Yeah,
so obviously Embiid is very, very good at defense. He's Ben Simmons is pretty well known to be a great defender as well. So you're basically attacking this Sixers team 2 through 4. And I try not to look to too much DVP stuff, but I definitely think that one of these guys is going to pop. I think the most advantageously priced is Derek Jones over on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, kind of bouncing around. He's also going to be the same thing there. Gary Trent, 6K. I had like no interest whatsoever in the main slate. I think I'll have a little bit here on the 2 gamer. I'm not sure how much I'm going to get to. I haven't ran my lineups yet for this 2 gamer. I'm kind of waiting to see how some of these main slate ones turn out in order to make the correct pivots and get what I need to done there. And then I'll jump over and finish out some of my late slate lineups. But for the most part, like Derek Jones Jr. is going to profile fantastic. He's still just way too cheap. 3,800 over on DraftKings. It's too cheap. 4,500 on FanDuel makes a good option kind of in that mid tier. The Sixers value was going to be super popular in the slate. I'm curious what it's going to turn into now that the Magic gave you every late swap opportunity you wanted in life. And we, for me, I ended up hitting lock button Stewart on DK. figuring out kind of what I need to do from there.
All right, that was don't worry. They're reminiscing in chat. Fast Eddie and I would get each other every now and then on these. So
I saw a lot of fire emojis at my expense, but not a single poop emoji. So, which makes no sense. Like that should be the first one to go to. So good job, chat. missed your golden opportunity at a bit after. Well, no, I'm trying to deflect. It's fine. I'm sad.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Have you ever seen Super Troopers?
I have, but a long time ago.
Okay. All right. So I'm just calling up some stuff here. We have the free today is the NBA ownership projections. However, that's just for the main slate. But if you guys get us a whole bunch of likes here, we'll talk a little bit about the late slate ownership projections. I believe no other site is offering these at this time. So that is something you want to look at. If there's a substantial express slate or mid slate, we'll do those. And if there's early slates, we definitely have the ownership projections for those as well. Coming in number one with a bullet, would you like to guess on FanDuel? That's usually your home side, I believe, first.
I know I split about 50-50.
Oh, okay.
I've not pulled up the ownership here yet, so I do not know. I would assume it would be Vooch.
Vooch is number 4 on FanDuel.
Okay. Oh, on FanDuel we're talking.
Yes.
Okay. So
it's number 2 on DK.
So it would have to be Seth Curry, right?
No, Seth Curry is not even top 10.
What in the world? What?
On either side. You're missing
Frank
someone.
Mason.
There we go.
Okay. It was one of the three. I'm gonna
98.9 on DK right now.
Okay.
I've never seen a number that high.
Hang on, say that again. What?
98.9. It's not quite Dove soap, which is 99.4% pure. However,
we're in a fresh gun. It's 98.6 degrees in your mouth. If you remember that one, that's a deep cut as well. Keep it in the spirit.
Oh boy, yes. 82 for Vooch. Ross with 70. Over on randomly, I guess because you got to play 2 small forwards and it must be thin. It is Tobias Harris. He's power forward. What is power forward looking like? So you got Harris, you got Covington on FanDuel. Then you're down to Carmelo Anthony.
Should we build a lineup with everybody and just really talk about how gross it is to be playing this late slate on FanDuel right now? It is horrific. So you basically, actually, I say it's horrific. It is actually a fantastic opportunity because of how well Frank Mason projects in general. You can build a lot of viable lineups with a lot of salary left on the table, just avoiding some of these super chalky builds. And I think, let me just get in on a couple of these things here. So obviously Seth Curry and Damian Lillard, by playing Mason, you lose out on one of those two and their upside. And they're basically two of the guys, like 2 of your top plays are at center with Embiid and Vooch. And then you've got 2 of them at point guard. So like, oh man, it's very, very difficult for me to envision a spot where I'm able to jam in. Oh God, let me try it here. Lillard, Curry, Embiid. That leaves you 47-83. I don't think you need Frank Mason. I would get almost all my exposure to him over on DraftKings. Just letting that be known right now.
Yeah, and chat's saying they don't think he'll be 99% owned on DraftKings. I don't either, but he'll probably be 80. That's kind of
honestly,
where things sort of cap out.
Alex is basically saying like, you'd be an idiot not to play this guy. Yeah, it's like with a Sharpie. The 1% is like injury risk.
Yeah. Wow. I have not seen a number like that before.
I have not either. I just pulled it up. Wowzer.
So in any event, overall, I think the top play has to be Vooch. Your immediate pivot is going to be Embiid. And then the thing that kind of hurt me is I ended up randomly with some Aaron Baines in some lineups. So that sort of cost me on DK when I was doing the late swap, trying to go to Isaiah Stewart. I'm not sure how he's performing tonight, but that was something that really hurt because it ended up allowing me to only get, I had too much money left over and I wasn't going to leave $1,600 on my cash lineup because somehow randomly I screwed up and had Aaron Baines in that with the one I ended up selecting. But how do you handle some of these with all of this amazing value, the limited number of spots we may still have on some of the sites? Would you be leaving cash on the table if you can't spend it?
On FanDuel, absolutely. On DraftKings, it's always difficult.
Even on the main slate.
Oh, like even on the main slate.
To swap. This is more of an advanced question. We'll get into the next
so this is where it comes down to how many positions you have open. So obviously you have more swaptimization having more positions open. And so basically what I do is I scan through my lineups. I try to sort them. I'll even just go into the DraftKings app and I'll just see kind of what the top ones that I have are, because those are always going to have fewer players remaining. I'll kind of hand edit a couple of those. I'll kind of sort it off of the players remaining. I'll figure out exactly kind of what those main pivots are going to look like. So obviously Frank Mason, we got that news a little bit early, so I was still able to adjust it for that 5 p.m. game out here on the West Coast, 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and then kind of have my lineup set to go before that. Now that I'm looking at some of these other things that we're factoring in, just in terms of, we saw the starting lineup, which came out after the lock, which is just disgusting and disturbing. I do have a lovely little tweet I want to drop out into chat as well. Oh God, it's like, that's I feel like Greg Ehrenberg. I'm popular on Twitter today. That's exciting. So I'm pretty sure for the most part, like leaving a bunch of salary on the table is probably more viable on this slate because you have 5 games and because you might have a position. Like I would rather play Frank Mason straight up over any of those other starters other than Vooch, obviously. So I'm saying that like between those other 4, like Terrence Ross will be coming off, and I have him projected a little bit higher as I'm looking at it. But yeah, I would have no issue if you had to leave 400, 600, 800 on the table to make sure you played Frank Mason over, I don't know, Seth Curry or something. I would be happy to do that.
At what point do you start making it more like a pick'em on FanDuel?
Well, this for the late slate, it is over for this. It just depends on what the salary is and what other places you can get to. So you have to pretty much have a specific thing in mind. So like for me, Frank Mason is 4,200. He projects phenomenally well. He's the best play there. If you have like a small forward option that's sitting there with like Danny Green, who I think was going to be pretty popular, 3,700. You know, you're able to get yourself, if you came off of like, I doubt a lot of people had like crazy maxi interest over on FanDuel at the 3,900 tag or something. But if you had like a position that was open there, like obviously if you're doing well at this point in time, like if you have Cousins, if you have Tatum, if you have some of these other guys that are just going completely nuclear, get to Mason. But if you don't, this is the time where I would actually be okay avoiding some of that chalk. But it came out long enough after lock that I don't think Frank Mason's going to be that popular on the main slate. Like, I just don't.
I ended up with about 60% on the main slate of him.
Mm-hmm.
I was planning on this. So I was trying to leave as much wiggle room as possible. So the big error I had again was not well, who could expect Miles Plumlee, right?
Yeah, Mason Plumlee. Yeah, it came out of nowhere.
Sorry.
It came absolutely out of nowhere. And
neither one's playing tonight.
It happened 1 minute before lock, which I wish that game was at 4:30 because I was able to get everything I needed to in less than 60 seconds, which I believe your old buddy EMac, your old buddy Eddie Fear, you always talked about having a fire drill ready to go. And I think that's a huge part of my process was learning to upload a CSV in less than 45 seconds. And it has come in handy multiple times. Now, given there are things that I had no intention of doing on this slate, like I think I ended up with like 4% McConnell on complete accident. Yeah. But the desire to make all the pivots that I needed to right before 4:30 kind of outweighed that. And I didn't necessarily go back and comb through it as much as I should have because I was reacting to all the other news that was going on. So am I happy about that? No, but like 5,200, whatever, like such is life. I was able to get 100% Stewart and that's what mattered.
All right. Wow. We have 400 people watching. Thank you. We are trying to grow this show. If you guys want to hit the like button, we would be thrilled. If you want to retweet our tweet, we'd love that too. We are, trying to get ahead of that pesky YouTube algorithm. I'm going to make I just finished my late slate, what do we call them? Hockey lineups, but I believe in chat.
Wait, what? We're cross sporting late lineups.
It sounds like Robin Lerner may not be starting, and it may be Grant Fleury.
So Fleury, yeah, Fleury was going to be dropped or something. I got to make some pivots.
Yeah. Oh, so you're playing as well. All right.
Are you EMac? Is rain wet? Like, come
Sky
on,
green.
Come on,
no,
dude.
It's not. But hey.
Yeah.
So we've got all that fun stuff here. One thing I wanted to talk about, and again, guys, we have 35 minutes, so I'm just kind of hoping we get some lineups here. One question was Lillard or Embiid, which I think is kind of an interesting one. There is nobody equipped to guard Embiid. However, we know that the defense at the rim, not always the best for Philadelphia for the last several years, even though they do have Joel Embiid.
So
which side do you land on?
So Lillard is going to be much higher owned, looking 50.7 and then 21.6 over on DraftKings. FanDuel, I'm curious what that's going to be. So we've got 56.8 for Lillard. And then because of how popular Vooch is going to be, sitting there at 61.6, which is just awesome. 26.8% for Embiid. So if we're playing the ownership game, obviously for me, Joel Embiid is somebody that I think has been underrepresented for a while across the industry, been playing an absolute crazy high level of basketball for a while. And it's going a little underappreciated. There's so many games like that Minnesota game specifically, because I'm a Timberwolves fan and I hated myself and had to watch that game. He put up a crazy stat line in like 27 minutes. And it was like the most effortless 57 or 60 I've ever seen in my entire life. Obviously he's not going to grade out as well as Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard's at point guard. If you're going to play like Frank Mason, Lillard, and somebody else, you're able to play. I think you could still find a way on DraftKings to get Vooch and Embiid in, but straight up, I'm going to go the route of more Embiid and just kind of flip flop their ownership.
Okay, that seems relatively reasonable.
Yeah, and also I'm going to let it be known too on FanDuel. I'm making 40 lineups. I literally am going to probably just split it 50-50 Vooch and Embiid.
Okay. We have, let's see, our own Pete the Heat Rogers says, how would you prioritize the studs? You kind of mentioned two of them there. We're going to throw one more in, Curry in the mix there. That would be Steph, not Seth.
Yeah. I would assume so.
Wardell Jr.
Yeah. So for me, I'm on, in terms of this two-gamer, because I didn't get a lot of Embiid, exposure on that main slate because of how well Vooch worked for me. I'm gonna get a little bit more than the field over on Embiid. So I'm gonna say Embiid 1. Steph Curry is probably gonna be number 2 for me on FanDuel. Vooch would be number 2 for me on DK, and then getting down to Lillard being at 3 on FanDuel and 4 on DraftKings.
Also sounds very reasonable. Look at that. I've just made my late slate hockey lineups. This is the beauty of having Fantasy Cruncher as well as all of the amazing Awesemo hockey tools. You guys definitely want to start checking those out, especially when we have the free content. You're seeing both of us able to play these multiple sports on at the same time, and it's very difficult to do with basketball. But fortunately, we have the premium Slack channel that alerts us of all of the news changes, confirmations, line changes, and goalie changes. So that can at least get us to survive. Here's what I want to talk about from last night. And speaking of surviving, so we had a lot of people really, really, really salty about the Isaiah Roby thing. People, not just here, people across everywhere, clamoring that they should get refunds, that it was horrible. So here's what I want to say. In a situation like that, that actually should be in our favor when you're taking out 30 to 40% of the field. I'm speaking on DK. I was 10% above the field on both the main slate as well as the late slate. Yet wasn't profitable. I lost about 15%, but I was above on Roby. I had a lot of Roby lineups min cash. But when you take out the entire field like that, if you are building multiple lineups, if you're doing 1, 2, or 3, or you did 1 and you had Roby, yes, it's really going to impact you. If you're doing a lot, even if you're constructing them correctly and are above the field, you should be building your lineups in a way where you can take advantage of this. I have some of my best nights, particularly in baseball, when the field gets decimated by an unexpected rain delay, a pitcher getting shelled early or going out to injury or whatever. And even if I'm over the field, the way I've constructed things, I should have enough other things going on that, as Josh Engelman always likes to say, something breaks away and gets me there. And that's where it's like, you can't get mad. The other thing I want to say, you can't say, oh, if I would have had him, I would have done this much better. Do you want to know how much better you would have done if you would have had Roby? Take his projected points, multiply it by whatever percent owned he was, add that to your total and see where that is in the contest. That's how you would have done. Because you got to remember, if he's 40% owned, it's 40% of the people, approximately at some point it's going to fall off. That's 40% of the people who are ahead of you. You're not going to catch them if you're adding the same amount of points to their totals as you are to your own. You guys got to understand that. That's why it helps you relax a little bit more and not get bent out of shape when this stuff happens. It's going to happen. We're in the middle of a pandemic. If that sets you off now and you haven't been playing baseball in a while, rain delays are going to be even worse because now we got COVID and rain delays.
But the nice thing about baseball is that you can just basically stack up your team in a way where you have the stack of the team that's in the rain risk spot. And you're just like, I'm fine burning this 4 or 15 or 33 or $100 and just saying, screw it and getting them at 1%. And this is a situation like yesterday, we're on DraftKings. I was under the field on Roby, but my best lineup out of my core 5 that I usually make like 3 to 5 lineups a night. I try to play a bunch of the Q stuff when there's like a big 888 or a 1500 coming up. I definitely would have won 3 tickets to the 1500. So I'm a little salty about that because there's no way to like gauge that coming back. You basically are like 100-man contests that you're, putting up what, 33, $60 or whatever it is to try to win some of the tickets to some of the bigger stuff. And those are the tough ones to stomach. But for sure, you're 100% correct. It is so hard to pass those other people at the top end of a tournament. And people don't necessarily always take that into account. It sucks for everybody. I was working the late slate show last night, which is why I think I'm being a little bit more cautious. I'm constantly, I set up my iPad here, made sure that I have news to know if anybody is not warming up so that I can be the first guy on top of that. I will never make that mistake ever again. So it was kind of a good learning process for me. I was fortunate to still be a little bit under the field, but unfortunate that, I think I could have probably snuck 1 or 2 lineups up there last night had Roby been a go.
All right. We do got that confirmation there for Fleury over Lerner. So that'll help us just do a quick global swap right now. And I'm good to go. Let's see. What other fun stuff did happen in the last couple of days? I think that's about it. But these things that we want to mention, it took me a long time to learn this. So I'm not saying this cavalierly or condescendingly. Believe me, I've had rage moments and all that. So I learned 2 things. If this is going to set you off and make you angry, you're probably playing too much or you have anger management issues. They're not mutually exclusive, but could be either. No. But there are so many slates. There are so many days. This is why you play small, aim small, miss small, scattershot across a bunch of slates, and you're bound to get those runaways that'll get you where you need to go by the end of each season. So that's sort of the way I have utilized my approach. Do this via awesemo.com because we have all the great tools. You want to get in some fun stuff? We have NASCAR this weekend. Actually, NASCAR's at 2 races tonight, 1 on Tuesday. They've got 1 tomorrow, 1 Saturday, and 1 Sunday. So you can get in using the promo code Daytona for half off our 1 week price. So if you jump in now, you'll get the truck race, you'll get the Xfinity race, and you'll get the Cup race for this weekend. So a lot of fun, but a nice little way to dabble in this. And Alex does use his own projections and all of these. Plus we have Phil in the Slack channel, Race Sheets. He gives a ton of free content, ton of free articles, but he's also consulting and helping people with their lineups and understanding what to do when people, fail tech and what's this road race going to be like versus this super speedway versus this restrictor plate, which is what Daytona is. It's no longer a restrictor plate race, but it's a super speedway where basically you sit in the back, wait for the big one, and then your guys advance. Like that, they ran those courses tonight, but that's not how they race tonight. Tonight they race not to wreck because they don't want to go to a backup car for the big race. So these are just all the little tips and tricks that you can get that help you out. So very important.
Well, I unfortunately have 150 for that FanDuel thing. You got to play the tickets on FanDuel. I hate always saying it because I know that might kill my EV going forward, but I think I've been lucky enough and I've ran good enough the last couple of years. I'm happy to say it. Playing tickets on FanDuel is the best way to build your bankroll if you're playing the 2 main sites. DraftKings, they almost always are filling on FanDuel. Like today, the 50 cent and $1 entry fee, you could basically have a better than 50% chance at winning a ticket to the $4, I believe, and then the $3.33 that's going to be on the 3rd of March for NBA. And I think I just maxed it out. And then once you max it out, you can still enter some of those ticket queues and get the equity and money back. So if they're not filling, if they're 50% full and you already have 150 lineups, you can still jam them and make that money back. I've found that to be the best way to build my bankroll. And I just thought I would, for all the people hanging out here on the late slate that are kicking it with us, I just thought I'd let it be known. If you're not aware of that, become aware of that quickly, because that's the best way I know of to be able to find a way to sneak in to get 150 lineups in something that isn't the quarter or the 5 cent over there.
Excellent. That's a good idea. If I wasn't running so thin, doing everything I could to earn all of the crowns, the milestones, and the bonuses on DK,
and you got a full-time job elsewhere, and you're spread thin, sir.
No kids, and being a workaholic. That doesn't.
Yeah.
It kind of.
Well, there's that.
Kind of helps out.
There's that.
All right. So let's see here. I want to, and that's. Oh, how much Korkmaz am I getting on DK? I am just now getting to my DK lineups.
Yeah, I'm going to run a crunch here in the next 5 minutes here. I'm going to run it on both and we can talk exposures.
Yep.
Also, if we want to jump in, I'm pretty sure that 5 cent, 25 cent over on FanDuel, neither one of those are going to fill. So just jam your 300 lineups in there and let's have some fun leaving some salary on the table tonight.
There we go. That is not a bad idea. So I'm just going to do a quick look here at so the one thing that we can do with Fantasy Cruncher that helps you out is let it do some of the heavy lifting. So I know there's only 2 games left. I know I'm pretty good with what I've got, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to download my main slate lineups. I'm going to upload it into Swaptimizer just so I can take one last quick look, make sure I didn't have any of these Orlando people sneak through. And then I just want to kind of see where some of my percentages are, because I was doing all this in a bit of a hurry here, and this will, we'll throw this out. I doubt I will change anything, but, we can tell, Eric can critique some of my stuff. So I've got Booch. This is my main slate lineups. I got Booch at 70, Frank Mason at 60, Terrence Ross. I'm kind of high on Ross. I don't want to be.
I don't either, but I'm there with you. Yeah,
I've got 57 there, but it's just the price kind of worked. I've got Damian Lillard at 33, Wiggins at 25, Steph Curry, the 2-time MVP, at 22%, Dwayne Bacon at 19, James Ennis at 18, Ben Simmons at 12, Tobias Harris at 12, Danny Green at 11. I don't really want to turn Ross into Danny Green, so that's not helping me.
So I guess I love the exercise that we're doing, because I think this is very, very important. I think it's also very, very important to be able to talk about it in terms to who else are in those lineups. I think that's the most important part. Like how much Jeremy Grant do you have right now, who's completely throwing up a dud?
62%. So my night's probably over.
No, it's not over. So this is the conversation to have.
No, it's over. No, I need to yell.
Stop it. Yeah, no, it's all right. Come tilt your face off here at the Late Slate Sweat and Swap show. Just tilt your face off with EMac.
I knew it. I should have stuck with my other lineup.
So I guess this is what I'm getting at. I'm going to pull up the ownership for the main slate, because whatever the number is, and I guess this is just something that I've started to notice a little bit, late swap is the number one way to take advantage of your opposition and to be able to properly adjust, not just to injury news as it's coming in, but to be able to adjust to how your lineup is doing. Because if you're sitting with Frank Mason here, in some of those lineups, I still don't think it's that bad of a deal as opposed to most days, simply because I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to react. Either they're going to have Wall on FanDuel, they're going to have Wall or Brogdon or some of these other point guard options from these early games. And then otherwise they're going to be leaving like $5K in salary on the table coming down from Simmons. Like I just don't think Mason's going to be as owned as what we think he's going to be. I mean, Lillard, Curry, and Simmons are all stark, big, huge jumps from where he is. So there's a lot of people that'll have not dead lineups, but will have lineups with everything else locked up. You're not going to pivot to Frank Mason from Curry or Lillard. You're trying to make it work with other positions. So the way to do this is to find out which pairing of Mason and like maybe 2 other spots really work out best. So for me, I ended up on a lot of Tobias Harris in some of these Jeremy Grant lineups as we've been talking. I'm trying to get as much as I possibly can, because that's somebody who has a big upside that's going to be much lower owned compared to what some of these other guys are going to be. I'm trying to make some of the swaps work where I'm getting off of Vooch, even, who I really, really like, and getting up to Embiid and coming down at point guard to Mason and going up to Harris in other spots too. So rather than punting the Magic, which I think would probably be the optimal route to go, if you've got great lineups going, play Terrence Ross, play Frank Mason, do all these other things, but like get to some of these other pieces for the higher spend ups of the Sixers who are projecting for more points in some of those Jeremy Grant lineups, and get a little contrarian and give yourself a chance to like salvage with a min cash if Frank Mason puts up 18, which I think is, more remote. Like he's a riskier piece of value than what it would indicate, although he is a phenomenal play.
The one thing everybody needs to know about Frank Mason, he's an incredible usage monster in the fourth quarter. And he can get there like in the last 2 to 3 minutes of a game. He did this throughout his time in Sacramento. And then he did it again the other night when he played. He got 2 rebounds, and assists, and 2 buckets, like with 3 minutes left. And all of a sudden it came from, and I didn't realize that Anthony was out because I was just watching on my phone because I had gone to bed after our show that night because I had a beer and I was tired because that's what happens when you get old and it's a school night. But and I was waiting for it, and there it happened. I kept waiting for Cole Anthony to come back in, but so that helped me survive a little bit. And it's funny,
murdered me.
If you're watching the last few games in the last 2 or 3 minutes, and you can see you make or lose so much money in those last couple minutes. Mm-hmm. It's wild. That's how tightly packed and these contests are with the range of scoring production. Sorry, a little verklempt here. I see that Gibson is in that.
Oh man,
expected guy.
I have so many good lineups on FanDuel with Tyler Hero. It is just so painful. I didn't even like Tyler Hero at compared to the field. I have 20%, but like just going through some of these in the 333, it's just so sad. Oh, gross. It's just a terrible feeling.
Yeah. All right. So when you're making changes like that you just described, it's understandable how to do it if you're only dealing with a couple, because you're going to do it by hand. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to isolate those pairs for people that have a lot of lineups or have access to the Fantasy Cruncher or other optimizers that allow late slate changes, do you have any tricks for that you want to mention?
Yeah, a couple things. So one, if you're looking at ownership and you're like, I want to get to double the field of this guy, triple thumbs up, cap him at the number that you want him to be, and he will pretty much get there. You can also manually change the projection. I try not to get in a crazy habit of doing that because sometimes that can skew up everything that I'm doing on my end, especially when I'm inputting some projections or trying to compare them to what Alex has, because again, he's the best player in the world and I'm always going to default to him. If I have a question about somebody with minutes, like a guy like Korkmaz tonight was somebody that I don't really have a great gauge with Seth Curry and some of these other guys trying to figure out what his minutes are going to be, or with Maxey and everybody being healthy in that situation. I had a tough time trying to really target what those minutes were going to be, and I just defaulted to Alex. So I'm trying to figure out, I think the most important part of if you're trying to make some of those easy swap and pivots, I will basically, and this is just my take of what I'll do. I'll sometimes remove a guy from the player pool entirely that's super, super popular. Not Frank Mason in this situation. I'm more than happy to get over the field with him because, again, I don't think enough people will be able to adjust to what he's going to be. But on FanDuel, I'll remove a guy from the player pool who's going to be super popular, and I'll start feeding him by hand into the lineups that I think are doing the best. So it's a way of getting completely off very, very quickly of all the other super chalk lineups that you think don't have a chance to win. And there's generally only going to be 5 or 6. So a situation like today where I have 20% hero on FanDuel, I'm basically know exactly what those lineups are going to be. You can identify directly on Cruncher which ones those are. And I'm basically eliminating Vooch from those lineups right now and getting to Embiid. I'm doing everything that I can to just plug Embiid in more. Obviously, Vooch is a drastically better play, but those lineups are already dead anyway. I'm basically trying to min cash things that aren't min cashable generally. And that's the quickest way that I've found to be able to do it is I just remove Vooch, relate swaptimize those specific lineups, and then I'll hand edit a couple of them as I'm going back through. And it takes a shorter amount of time once you get used to it than you think it does. It sounds more complex than it is.
All right. So I was curious to see. So I have. Interesting. All right. I was just seeing what I could do to get to switch. So I took a third of my lineups and I just said, all right, I want to get rid of Vooch and turn where possible.
Do you have a salary cap on it? Because you got to make sure that you don't have the minimum salary sitting on it. That's the other part that's difficult. So what do you have a min salary set up on Cruncher?
I set like 49,000 as the minimum because I didn't want to go below that.
Okay, and that's on DraftKings?
DraftKings.
Okay. So because of the pivot, I think they're more than 1,000 apart. So that might be more difficult. I was talking specifically FanDuel where I don't have the cap sitting there. Let me pull up my DraftKings stuff here.
Okay, and so and then we got 15 minutes, so we'll go back and start talking about what we're going to do with the actual lineup. So what I ended up doing here is I was able to now match Vooch with Embiid on these and not lose out a whole bunch because a lot of these are missing players. And what I didn't want, and so it just won't make the change because it says, Matt, I don't have enough money or I'm not going down from people like Terrence Ross.
Which is fine. Terrence Ross, I think, is a super high upside guy. Like I would have no problem being around there, and he's not crazy popular. I have no problem Terrence Ross being a guy that you plant your flag on.
All right. So anyway, but these are the kind of things we want to show you guys how to do on these shows because trying to learn how to do these in a vacuum by yourself, you're going to get confirmation bias. You're going to throw your hands in the air. You're going to think you're doing something right, but you're really not. There are better ways to do things, etc. So these are some of the things we really wanted to bring forth in this show because these are a lot of the questions we get from our users in premium Slack or people that aren't members that are DMing us and stuff like that saying, hey, how do I do this? Or, hey, how do I do that? And you can try to make videos and such for these, which works, but then people have to watch the video and find their exact situation. By doing it this way and on these shows, we can come in and we can say, hey, look, here's how we're trying to handle tonight's snafu. Here's a way to do it. So when I said I'm taking a third of my lineups, I basically entered enough contests of different types that I can play each of my lineups in at 3 times. They're mostly similar payouts, but some of them are boosters or winner take alls or something. So what I've done is I just said, okay, I'll take a third of my lineups, leave everything else in there because I like most of it. I've already done my late swap optimizer, but now listening to Eric say this, I got a little FOMO. I got to figure out what I want to do. So now I've got these lineups where it's not the worst thing in the world because I still have my initial what I wanted. Now I'm trying something different.
I think this slate too, I want to add, I think this slate might be made a little bit easier to be able to do it because you can just sort by Sabonis at this point. If you don't have him on DraftKings, you're dead. So you can't win a tournament without Sabonis, I don't think, at this point. So you can manually just simply, if you do the highlighter, you can basically identify each one, or you can go into DraftKings, you can just type in his name, hand edit a couple of those. And then if those are I'm assuming they're going to be the ones that either have the most time remaining or they're going to be the highest scoring ones, you can sort it by that on Cruncher and then remove that lineup from the pool on the late swap optimizing tool. You can sort it by contest. You can sort it by lineup. You can sort it by everything. Just make sure that you get the 1 or 2 that you hand edit out of there, late swap optimize the rest.
All right. So now focusing here because people get a little salty if we don't talk about the upcoming stuff. So we hit most of it. So here are the key things. Orlando starting lineup, Mason, Bacon, Ennis, Clark, Vooch. Available off the bench, Ross, Chuma, Kem Birch, and Mo Bamba. That's all they have. Key people out for Portland. We have Nasir Little on a minutes limit. Neither one of us is really excited about Carmelo Anthony, and then we already know that Nurkic and McCollum are out. From the Philly side, we know that Mike Scott and Shake Milton are both out. We don't really know what's happening in here. We kind of like, it's just one of those salted taste. It could be any one of these. 2 of these guys are going to have decent games. Yeah. Danny Green, Maxey, Furkan Korkmaz, Seth Curry. Right? 2 of those guys are going to have good games. I have no idea which 2. One of them is going to get their minutes yanked. I have no idea who. And then you got secret option E, Matisse Thybulle sitting out there that he could get minutes somehow. Right? So it's kind of a whole disaster there once you get down into these, I would say, ancillary. There you go. Ancillary pieces.
Tertiary.
There you go. Tertiary place.
Yeah. So let's just like run down the line a little bit. So as you're going through shooting guard and small forward, because I think a point guard is pretty clear cut. You have Curry, Lillard, Simmons, Frank Mason. Like those are your 4. you can just move on. Like, we don't have to talk about him on DraftKings or FanDuel. Obviously, you have small forward positionality for Ben Simmons, but otherwise, I think it's pretty clear cut at that position. Shooting guard and small forward are basically where you're going to win or lose this slate in a lot of ways, because power forward on FanDuel, Tobias Harris, Draymond Green, Robert Covington. Yeah, like there's a lot of like guys up there, but it's going to be tough to get to all of them. I'm going to a little bit more Okeke, who I have for a little bit more minutes projection. I don't mind taking a shot on Giles. I would much rather do that than Gary Clark, who's like basically a 0.5 fantasy point per minute producer. Him and Ennis, we could basically say that they're the same guy, but I would much rather take some shots on Ennis. Going over to the Philly side of the ball, again, I'm just going to turbo this as we're talking about it. But Furkan Korkmaz, he's 4,100 over on FanDuel, over on DraftKings, 3,700. I think he's going to garner a little bit more popularity than what I want to get on top of in this slate. I would much rather pay up to 5,300 on DraftKings and get to more Terrence Ross, 6,200, get to Wiggins, and then punt at another situation. You can get down to somebody like Matisse Thybulle. He's 3,100. He's a 0.6 fantasy point per minute producer, but he basically wasn't playing at the beginning of the year, so the sample is pretty small. He entered the rotation, I believe, on like the 14th of January. Not a high usage guy, like literally 5% usage in the last two appearances that he had. I'm obviously not looking for points. I'd be looking for like stocks upside. I'd be looking for something else for him. He's a decent defender, somebody who can get some rebounds. Just court time for a guy who's at 3,100. I would rather take shots with him than 3,700 Korkmaz, who's super popular and just have kind of a different positionality. Tyrese Maxey's the one difficult guy, I think, to peg on this slate in general. I think he was the value du jour going into it. And now on the other side of this with Orlando, you might see a little bit decreased ownership, but I never trust people to adjust to the news the same way that we do in our bubble. And so 3,200 Tyrese Maxey, I'm still going to be a little bit light on, I think, on this two gamer, even though he seems like he would be good value and a decent enough guy. You can play him at shooting guard on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, you can play him at shooting guard. Really no problem getting down to him. But again, that's just kind of a path that I'm making where I'm going to play more Ross. I'm going to get to a little bit of Gary Trent on this. And then Andrew Wiggins on FanDuel is going to be basically a lock button at the small forward position for me, because I would much rather have him than some combination of like Trent and Bacon. Finishing out the position on power forward, Okeke and Birch, they're basically kind of looking out like the same guys for the most part, but like Okeke has started to like really cut into those minutes. Looking around at other places, like I'm pretty sure that you're going to see Kem Birch getting more popularity than he should. I'm going to go the Okeke route. Somebody that is a rookie. I always like buying into rookies because they always have more of a minutes upside, even if the game blows out, even if there's some kind of a situation where it goes south on him. He's also generally performed decently well in terms of a point per minute guy, comparatively. Like 0.71 is a lot better than looking at the 0.52 for Gary Clark. So much more interested in going that route too.
All right, we did just get ownership and player projections updated. 96% for those of you wondering for Mason on DK late slate. Still the highest I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's so good. And on FanDuel, I was talking about trying to figure out a way to build Lillard Curry lineups and have that to be a contrarian thing. I find it to be very, very difficult to do because of the opportunity cost of what you're giving up by not playing Wiggins, in my opinion. By not playing some Gary Trent or Terrence Ross at that position. You would basically have to be punting shooting guard and going down to Korkmaz, Seth Curry, Maxey. And I think that's the way most people are going to play it, even with Frank Mason available now. And so I'm just basically going to swap around those three, kind of remove everybody else from my pool at point guard there and just go Lillard, Curry, Mason, and live with the result. Just basically fade Simmons over on FanDuel.
Sounds good. I'm just putting in a few other lineups here. Oh, come on. Enter the contest for me, DK. What are you waiting for? Is my computer frozen? No.
Who is your favorite of these Orlando value pieces is my thing. Cause I think it's been talked about pretty frequently today. You kind of know Korkmaz, Curry, Maxey. Like Curry's the guy who's going to project out the most. Korkmaz has shooting upside. Tyrese Maxey playing fewer minutes, but could be your $3,200 savers over on DraftKings. Who are you kind of building with the most?
For me, it's going to be Mason. I'm sad that he's this popular because he was kind of one of my favorites.
Yeah.
and I figured this would happen now. So I'm going to have to be happy that I am well ahead of everybody on the late slate, or pardon me, on the main slate, and just say, like, all right, well, you know what? I've got it there. It feels like 90 is a bit high, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know where to cut that off.
No. And this is not your typical, situation where it's like 65% guy on a 2-game slate. And do you go over under on this situation? Like, we're talking about a dude who's the only point guard available to really do anything. Only ball handler. Like, Terrence Ross isn't going to come up the floor with the ball in his hands.
You know the other guy that has the next highest assist percentage on the team that's available? Nikolai Vucevic. Yeah,
there you go. That would actually be my guess.
And he's not that far off. He's like 17, I think. Right now, which is not bad. He's got 6 of his last 10. He's had 4 more assists. 4 of the last 5, he's had 4 assists.
Eric Johnson, any Damian Lee on DK? No, none.
I wish Damian Lee was on Orlando tonight. Maybe they could trade him for one.
Yeah, honestly, can we do a half court trade? Like, that would be very, very sanitary and COVID friendly for everybody involved.
Like, you show up at the ball game, and not everybody has the flag football team or the softball players. You're like, all right, we still want to play. What do you need?
Oh God, what a time to be alive
for us. Put them on their team.
Oh man.
Tell me, you've been there before, right? Intramurals? Yeah, we want to play. Somebody got hungover.
Yeah, me yesterday on doing the late slate show. Thanks, Nolan. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, there were rumors about that.
Were you on NSFD late? Ennis is I talked a little bit about Ennis. He's fine. 4,200 over on FanDuel. If you're looking for somebody, he's 0.72 FanDuel point per minute guy on the season. 0.71 over on DK. Like, he's fine. He's just not that interesting. I would rather get up to Terrence Ross. And then for me, I'm basically kind of making the punt either to Maxey. If you want to eat the chalk there, I'm going a different direction and playing more of the Chemi Okeke at 3,600 on DraftKings.
You know who's really getting killed in all of these? And it's why I saved a whole bunch of lineups for him. So I'm just going to lock him now and then upload it. Joel Embiid.
Yep.
He's coming in naturally at like 8% on what I'm doing.
All right. If you guys just want to like fire questions, I'm just going to like rapid fire. FanDuel, point guard, Curry or Lillard. I think I'm going to get contrarian. I'm going to take the Curry route if you're looking for one of the two. Lillard going to be higher on. Pull up those ownership projections here.
All right. Slate again. Export. Oh, we got time.
There's 3.5 keep minutes. You keep rocking.
I appreciate the teamwork here, my friend.
Dude, I got you covered. I saw it.
Saw the panic in my eyes.
No, you're doing lovely. You're doing lovely. Indica or sativa? Indica or sativa? What am I missing there?
That's weed.
There we are.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I had told them on my weed experience.
One of my largest investments in life is in a weed company, but yet I did not even recognize that. I don't mind smoking weed. It's just not my thing. Let's see. Tybal or Maxey DK single entry. It's going to be hard for me to play any Tybal, period. So even though Maxey I'm underweight on, I would go Maxey. I look very high. That's so nice. I'm just tired. I'm just very, very tired, I think. Showdown. Talk showdown for a second. Sure. If you're looking at like getting contrarian, I made a cash game dealio over here. It's very, very difficult to build a cash game and not like jam in just whoever one of those two studs is going to be, especially because now you do have some of these guys down at the bottom end, like Maxey, Giles, Tybal, if you want to go that way. Korkmaz, I think would make a lot of sense down there as well. There's basically two paths that I see for it. I played a couple 3-max with one being Cantor in the captain, just because I needed to have that extra like $200 to be able to slot one more stud in. And then, but my preferred guy would be Embiid. I would just get contrarian, pay the extra, what is it? 1,500 to get up to him there.
All right. So sorry about that. I'm back.
El Negro Loco. You don't know tired, dude. Yeah, no, I do, my friend. I do.
Yeah, I don't know when you guys are all up all hours all the time. You're on a different coast. Yeah, I see you guys on
So I'll
every
get done
show.
with this. We'll get done with this in 2 minutes. I'm gonna be with Rinpack doing the Slate starter right afterwards. Then I'll write my article until about 2 in the morning, and then I have the Yahoo article, which I'll do for about another 2 hours after till about 4. And then I usually get all the alerts from everybody waking up at about 6:30 in Slack, and I wake up to those and always feel like I want to promptly respond. So I'm kind of up and going, and I catch up on the weekends. The Lord rests on Sunday. I rest on Saturday because I'm not that arrogant.
All right. Well, I just dropped one last time the pinned Awesemo tweet in there. Reply to that. Get your chance to win one free year of Awesemo NBA. Promo code Daytona gets you half off 1 week of Awesemo NASCAR. We have NASCAR races Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, the Super Bowl of NASCAR, the Daytona 500. We have shows starting tomorrow at 6:30. That's The Process with Josh Engelman. At 10, you're going to get the strategy show with Greg. That's Nerd Ass Greg. And Josh, at 3 o'clock, you're going to get the game plan. That's a premium show behind the paywall. Tomorrow, it's going to be Steve Buzzard. You guys know him better as DeColts. He is one of our behind the scenes guys that handles a lot of the heavy lifting with business planning for us. You've got 3:45, the tip off. You've got Kayla, Ben, and Nerd Ass Greg once again. 5:45, the deeper dive. I think we have 11 games tomorrow. It's going to be a big one.
11 games. I was going to say this is going to be a long one tonight. Yeah, I'm ready to rock.
Adam and Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, from 5:45 to 6. From 6 to 7, you get Spags and Terry, and then another half hour of them with the Super Draft special, and then the late slate, Spags and Eric Lindquist coming back to bring you down the home stretch. My name is not on here, but you're going to get me on Saturday and Sunday. So, woohoo! Lucky you guys.
You and me on Sunday, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Eric and Eric squared. Let's party.
It'll be a good time. But you can check out the majority of these shows, with the exception of the Live Before Lock and the premium shows, on the Awesemo Podcast Network, which is available on any podcast network that you can think of. All right. How did we do? We ended up with close to 500 people watching us tonight.
Amazing.
That is so awesome.
Hit the like button on the way out. Smash it on the way out for us. Get to 150. Get to 150. Make us feel cool and okay. Who are we? We're cheering for everybody a little bit. Joel Embiid, we're definitely cheering for tonight.
Absolutely.
Now. Yeah, that's the guy.
That's going to be our surprise secret take-home player. Hopefully
70 plus. Joel, bring it home, buddy.
Was it the Lakers that he did that against like 4 years ago?
Done it. He's so incredible. Like I think he can be somewhat annoying sometimes. The crying after Toronto thing, I was like, this feels a little weird, but I think he's a stud. The guy is a glorified stud.
Absolutely. All right. With that, we're going to get on out of here. You can follow Awesemo at Awesemo_COM, plus Awesemo NBA, Awesemo MLB, Awesemo NASCAR, Awesemo fill in the blank, and you'll get it. You know what we're talking about. You can follow Eric at Eric Lindquist on Twitter. I'm at EMac DFS. With that, gamers, good luck.